All right, Angus, why don't you bring everybody up to snuff on what you've been discussing?
Okay, so there's just two items on tonight's agenda. One is to review the draft job description that um, Judy had circulated. And the second is to talk about the potential to enter into an intermunicipal agreement with Merrimack to see about jointly posting the conservation agent position. And, if that went forward, jointly posting, hiring, and how that would work. So in terms of the job description, the personnel policy is silent on how those are amended. So what we've done in the couple of years since I've been here is the appointing authority has the ability to modify the job description. So where that would be the commission, I had suggested that the commission convene to just formalize that before we would post anything, just to make sure that that's the kind of the will of the commission. So that's, I think, the first order of business, but we are joined tonight by Bob Prokop. He's the chair of the commission in Merrimack. So, that topic is also on the table, although unless something's changed in the last few hours, I think we're still at the kind of discussion stage that Merrimack's not ready to go forward yet necessarily.
Angus, I just want to clarify. What I sent you was actually the job posting that the commission approved when posting for the position when we hired Bert. It's not something new that I made up after the fact. It was it's that plus the description for the duties for the land agent that the commission approved when it sent it to you and to the board previously. So, I think that we've actually already approved it. If anyone has any different views, and we could vote on it again.
I think we approved that was weeks ago. There was one thing that Angus brought up in that job description. Judy, is there a mention of a chainsaw?
Chainsaw?
Yeah. Our agent comes prepared. No.
Is that as a weapon or something?
Yeah. Oh. I guess that's not something that we can ask him to use. Is that correct, Angus?
Well, there's OSHA requirements that it can't be used, if someone's alone, there has to be a second person there, and there's certain training requirements. So when the land agent had been proposed initially as part of the FY21 budget process, that was the one change that the select board had wanted to see with that job description. So I know we'd sent it back at that point, year and a half ago. So I just think that reference to chainsaw is kind of problematic from a liability standpoint.
The ability to operate a chainsaw is what it says.
Yep.
I guess I guess you'd have to have someone else with him. Is that correct, Angus? Among
That's
other
right.
things?
Yep.
Yeah, he couldn't do that alone.
So is there somebody on the town's payroll who is certified to use a chainsaw?
Yeah, the public works and buildings and grounds guys.
Okay.
We could just say ability to lift and carry 50 pounds, use various hand tools.
That's what I would recommend.
Okay.
Take out operated chainsaw.
I'm a little lost on the need for a chainsaw or lift 50 pounds. What are we building here?
Oh, we included in our conservation agent's duties, basically doing trail maintenance.
No. Okay. Okay. Did Jay do that already? Jay Smith?
No, This was after Jay left that we added this. We added hours for working as a land agent, as well as doing the Wetlands Protection
Okay,
Act.
fair enough.
The trails in West Newbury actually are becoming very extensive and they're very well used,
No,
which is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So has
So-
this most recent job posting been updated with that? Is that what I see under the request DPW assistance on work requiring special equipment or skills?
On the draft in the packet I sent around, it's on the final page of the job description. It's in the second to last bullet.
Okay,
Gotta take this off.
Doesn't say anything about the DPW. It just says that was, all I did was take what we had sent to the board in requesting the additional hours for the land agent position, added that to the job posting that we had used when we were hiring Bert. So I move that we reaffirm the document titled draft job posting as the job description for the conservation agent, with the amendment of the second to the last bullet on the last page to read ability to lift and carry 50 pounds and use various hand tools.
Second.
Any further discussion?
One thing I wanted to just bring up for discussion was whether the agent would have any role with regard to the open space committee as either a liaison or any kind of staff support to the open space committee.
I don't think that we have enough bandwidth to have the agent provide staff support to the open space committee. We've kind of, I think, stretched that as it is.
You'd be paying the agent to go to their meetings. We've had usually a member of the commission go to their meetings and then come back and tell us what's going on.
I mean, there is some coordination in that the agent is, under this description, is to report monthly to the open space committee on trail status updates and get input from that committee and Mill Pond committee, as well as the Concom for trail work.
Merrimack has just started, hold on a second here, I'm putting my thumb back on. I broke my thumb, so
Oh,
it's tough to work the key, the mouse, because it doesn't want to play with it. Yeah, at our last meeting, we just initiated an open space committee that hasn't been active for decades. So we're just in the starting program for our open space. We don't have nearly as many trails as you guys apparently have, but we do have some public land that people use, including on Lake Attitash. So,
I think, well, Wendy, you're here too. You could comment. The open space is actually, I used to refer to them as the little worker bees because it's more than just trails. They're really a very active group of people, or they should be a very active group of people. We can't hear you, Wendy.
I don't think
No.
your mic works.
We can read lips.
read everybody.
Maybe just unplug your headphones. Nope.
Well,
There we go.
Wendy's actually been like the liaison to the open space. I have been. Judy has been. And they're a very active group, and it's not just trail maintenance.
I think that we do have it covered with monthly reports.
Yeah, I agree. Because if then the agent, you'd have to pay him to go to those meetings. He's not going to just go for free.
Right.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. All right. The intention, when we asked for the additional hours for the land agent, was for that person to go to the open space committee meeting. I mean,
Oh,
it's
was
nice
it?
to, yeah. I mean, that is really needed, because there was really not a way to coordinate with the open space committee without going to the meeting. I mean, that was really kind of a failure of the startup for this position. And so that was our intent going forward. And the open space committee that's something they really wanted. So if we added 3 hours a week, that should more than cover, spending 2 hours a month at an open space committee meeting.
I don't have any issues with attending the meeting.
No.
I'm saying I don't think that we can provide staff support for the open space committee.
Right. The intention was just, to have
Just
that
to attend.
monthly discussion, so the agent is aware of the issues that are going on. And it's just much easier to coordinate or identify priorities for trail work, face to face, or, Zoom to Zoom, or whatever.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so are we ready to vote on
I
Judy's
guess then,
motion?
do we want to amend it to attend where we have attend all regular evening meetings of the Conservation Commission? It could add and regular meetings of the Open Space Committee. Do you think once a month to the Open Space Committee is enough rather than
That's all they meet.
twice a month?
They only meet
Once
once
a
a month. Yeah.
So then
It could even be, something like as assigns. That way, if there's a commissioner going, great. And that way it's not necessarily every month, but it just gives something that if there's a benefit to have the agent at the meeting, it's not, the job description is not silent on that.
So I could say, attend all regular evening meetings of the Conservation Commission, generally on the first and third Mondays of each month, and meetings of the Open Space Committee as assigned.
I would
I
prefer
don't
that it
think-
just commit to that upfront, because otherwise I think
Yeah.
it's just going to fall through the cracks again.
Yeah, I think you have to tell them that they have to go once in a while. It can't just be, random. Even if they only meet once a month, even if he goes just for an hour for that one meeting and they
Right.
trail
Maybe they could do
discussion.
that first.
Yeah,
Right? And meetings of the Open Space Committee, period.
yes.
So with those two amendments, is there any further discussion?
Could I have, this is Rick Parker. Could I just throw out an idea? You may recall there was an article at town meeting that we passed over for invasives interns.
Yes.
And there is, which I personally think is a really worthy pursuit. But we concluded that we didn't really have things figured out as far as supervision was concerned. And it's hard to say how much would be involved at this point in time, but it would not be throughout the year. It would probably not be very demanding of time. But do you think that some inclusion of or some mention of potential supervision of interns? Angus, you had mentioned that it might be better just to leave that open instead of saying specifically for invasives, just interns. Do you think that's something that could be worked into the job description? Concom members?
Well, what are the legal ramifications of having interns? Insurance and things like that? Are there issues with that?
To my understanding, no. Angus, you could probably speak to that better than I can. I think they would be like any other employee in terms of being covered by the municipal insurance.
That's correct.
Okay, Judy, you want to call in for
Well, I guess the question is whether we want
whether we
to,
include the interns?
whether we want to add another bullet point.
Is there anything in that job description that could cover that? I don't have it written in front of me.
It doesn't talk about overseeing other people. There is a identifying invasive plant issues, recommend remediation options, but there's nothing in there about supervising.
Well, maybe we could
supervising.
add to that and,
Wasn't there a bullet about supervising volunteers in the land agent job description? I haven't looked at it in a while, but
Coordinate construction and maintenance of man-made trail structures. Conduct and oversee tree brush and hazard removal. There's nothing about overseeing
Invasive.
volunteers.
okay, can we add that in somewhere?
We could add oversee volunteers for projects as directed by the commission.
That should
It could-
cover it.
It could refer to volunteers and seasonal interns.
Okay, I mean, I would think that an intern would fall under volunteer, but
No,
Would
no,
say
they had proposed funding for it. So, I mean, not to split hairs, but the interns that they'd envisioned would be paid.
oh, okay, oversee volunteers and seasonal interns for projects as directed by the commission.
Okay.
So with those three amendments, any further discussion? Okay, Dawn,
Aye.
Molly,
Aye.
Judy, aye. Okay, Angus, does that take care of the
It does.
first issue?
Yep, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you. So next
Can that-
is joint, is a potential joint posting with Merrimack. Bob, do you have
Still here.
things to say?
Okay, I know, I've been pretty quiet so far. Let me get, in general, what Jay has, first of all, how often do you guys meet? The commission, that is.
Twice a month.
Twice a month?
Okay, yeah, we only meet once a month. We'd like to get the applications in at least 2 weeks in advance. Jay does a lot of field, preliminary field work, and then most of the commission members, like myself, we go out and review the wetland delineation. We review the sites, usually the Saturday before the meeting. We meet on a Tuesday, last Tuesday of the month, for just once a month. And then also Jay, like over here on the other side of the river, as it were, he handles any and all questions initially that come up. Sometimes they get deferred to me, but usually he would handle individuals, well, questions about, you know, do they need a permit for this, that, or the other thing and stuff. And then he, you know, he basically, you know, he does the agendas. You know, he circulates the appropriate plans for every project that comes before us. And we don't really have a lot of projects, frankly, that come before us. Most of it, if anything, is violations, which because people get stuck at home for, you know, so long, they decide it's a good time to fill that wetland in the backyard for whatever reason. So, but he's, you know, but he kind of breaks the ice with people first, and then Jay usually will then call me, because I've been on the commission for like, oh God, 35 years, I guess, roughly. And I'm a certified wetland scientist and a wildlife biologist, you know, so I kind of know, you know, a lot of stuff. So, but he's, you know, he covers the first part over here. And he's pretty good. I mean, you know, he does this stuff, but when in doubt, he calls me, and then I complete his end of the things. And I would expect a new person, and that's the tough part, is a new person would be the qualifications, you know, because can they, at least initially, like for instance, review a wetland delineation or have some familiarity with the wetland regulations. I apologize to ask this, but do you guys have a wetland ordinance?
A bylaw?
Bylaw. No,
We don't
But I
have a
like-
bylaw yet.
no, not yet. We're working on it. I do like the fact that you give out those tickets.
Yep.
I've discussed that with Jay many times.
So, but yeah. So anyway, so anyone who submits an application, particularly an NOI, or even RDA, you know, it also has to be perused via, you know, the town wetland regulations and such. So, but so in general, like I said, Jay screens the calls. He advises whoever wants to do something in town that might be wetlands, or just to know if they're in jurisdiction, and then he defers to me for stuff that he's not sure about, and then the commission members, usually a majority of them, will then inspect the site, you know, a few days before the actual meeting. And of course, Jake generally comes to those site inspections too. Not to say that he hasn't already looked at the site. And then once a project, well, he writes the enforcement orders, he writes the orders of condition, then he, you know, distributes them to the rest of the commission after the meeting, and then we all edit them or provide edits to it, and send them back to Jay, and then he submits them to the applicants. He submits the legal notices. The applicants are responsible for doing the mailing, the abutter notifications by mail, and I don't know.
It's about the same, Bob.
Yeah, well, I figured it is.
Yeah, it's about the same.
And stuff. You know, the only thing we have is, you know, we have our own wetland regs, which you know,
Right.
add a little more complexity to the project, and our regs aren't that particularly tough to read. So,
No, and I think with the ticket thing, it's easier to get someone to rectify something that they've done that's in violation.
and one other thing too is, Jay periodically, you know, he kind of drives around town just to, I mean, we're only 8 square miles in size, so that's not but he will, you know, he will catch people in the act of doing something that they shouldn't be doing without a permit. And
That's why we have Dawn.
Tell my neighbors.
Tell me about it, you know, trying to keep my neighbors out of trouble. Oh, that's another story. So yeah, so the person, you know, whoever would be retained, you know, you know, just like a policeman, you know, they should like at least patrol through the town, and, you know, to see if there's any you know, unpermitted activity. Not that they can look in everybody's backyard, but if they see an excavator or someone cutting down trees, to determine if it's within jurisdiction, you know, they should be able to do that.
So Angus, when it comes time to write this description, do you sit with Bob, or how is that going to be done? Or how is that going to be handled?
You mean like the job posting?
Yeah, do we
Well-
put this posting out and then just hope that
Well, I
whoever
think
we hire, what are we doing?
That's I think, you know, one of the questions before us, because I think that, you know, based on conversations with Bob and with Carol McLeod in the finance office over there, it seems like there's broad agreement that both communities have a lot to gain by jointly advertising, jointly recruiting, both for, you know, to be able to attract people looking for a full-time job and for retention over time. So we don't, you know, have a thing like with Bert where you have someone good, he's here for a couple of years and gets a full-time job and moves. So there's definitely an upside to working together. And so I think the idea would be, you know, an intermunicipal agreement that would hammer out some of the details of, you know, how is the hiring decision made? What's the compensation going to be? Is it going to be the same rate for each position, or is there going to be a difference there? How would the position be funded? You know, including things like, you know, would there be a Merrimack contribution to benefits, or is that something that West Newbury would shoulder? Any kind of performance or personnel administration, as well as kind of supervisory, you know, authority over the position, whether you would spell out which hours they're in both, which I know is how it worked, you know, back before Jay retired from West Newbury and when he was working in both towns. I know he had different shifts in both towns and that seemed to work well, but, you know, I think all of those issues could be worked out. And I think the mechanism to do that would be an intermunicipal agreement that would just spell that out, not in excruciating detail, but probably 3 or 4 pages that way everyone's on the same page going in. And that way, whoever's hired, you know, there's a clear basis of what's their employment situation, you know, and I think that's only fair. So right now, I think we're at the stage of kind of conceptually how it would work. And then, you know, I think an intermunicipal agreement would be where those details would be worked out.
So do we go ahead and post what we're posting? And
Well,
watch
you
to
know, I
see
don't think
what
we
comes
can
in?
because we're not looking to hire a full-time agent. So until Merrimack knows, you know, officially that they're going to have a vacancy, which I think is kind of commonly known, but hasn't yet been made
Formally,
official.
no. Yeah.
Right. You know, unfortunately, I think we're kind of in a holding pattern until that happens. That's my opinion.
Well, Jay has repeatedly told me he's going to work through the end of August, which would put him at one of our last meeting in August, and then hopefully do the paperwork based on our last meeting, and then they'd be free to go. But I would expect that whoever gets retained by the two towns, that they need a learning curve to be familiar with the way everything's set up in town hall, so that, you know, they can be familiar, you know, so they know where all the stuff is. Right.
Well, that's why I would like to get this posted, just so that Jay would at least be in Merrimack,
Mhm.
even if he's, you know, just so that he's here to help.
And we could perhaps, you know, perhaps he would be willing to spend a few hours working for the person working in West Newbury with the person.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, they gotta, whoever it is, has to be shown the ropes, so to speak.
Yeah,
And know where everything is, and all the commission members' phone numbers and stuff like that. So
So I take it Jay has not given
He
you
hasn't written a
anything in
letter.
writing yet.
right. That's exactly right.
saw him today. I talked to him last week about, putting in a formal retirement letter to the selectmen. So he hasn't done that yet, but just between he and I, he's looking at basically the last day of August.
Well, he had
That's
actually
what, that's
told
what
me
he
that.
said.
Yeah,
Okay, so
his birthday.
is that his birthday, really?
Yes, it is.
And now I got to get him a card. So, but yeah, like I said, he was just here today. We're signing some NOI, not NOI, orders of condition, and we chatted briefly about it. I asked him if he wanted to join the meeting, and he was reluctant to join. So, anything I say, I'm paraphrasing perhaps what he said.
So my connection just went out for about 10
Oh.
seconds. Sorry about
I
that.
saw you moved. Yeah.
Yeah. So if if he wouldn't have any concern with Merrimack going forward with the posting, then I agree with what Don said, that it's certainly in West Newbury's interest to get the job posted as soon as possible.
Absolutely.
Start the recruitment process. And I think, let's say, we would need to obviously hammer out, how would the interview process go? How would the decision be made? Ideally, and very often the top candidate kind of, rises to the top, and it's kind of obvious who that person is. But what if there was a disagreement? How would that decision be made? Those things need to be thought through. But I think the sooner we could get that figured out so we could post the job would be better. Because I mean, best case scenario, there's someone who's ready to start in July. And then I think, there'd be some period of time that I would think West Newbury would probably need to pay the full-time wages. Maybe that's for a month, until the vacancy is, official in Merrimack, at which point it would more be a split position. And, I think in the long term, in my view, that's a, small price to pay to have, I think, a much better situation with an employee who's probably much more likely to stay with the town for a long time as a full-time,
So-
shared position.
That being
Well, would
said,
it be,
oh, go ahead, Judy.
I was wondering, would it be helpful for us to send, I will make the changes in the job posting, be helpful to send that to Bob so that the Merrimack Commission can look and see that everything that they need is encompassed in it?
But
Well-
they wouldn't be voting on it till the end of the month,
Yeah,
right?
we're not going to be here till. Well, no. Well, we're pretty informal here, and there's no reason I can't. I mean, I'm looking at the job posting right now, and
Mhm.
there's no reason I can't circulate this to the rest of the members to get some of their comments and stuff. But I think the way you have it set up with, in effect, 2/3 of the time in West Newbury, 1/3 in Merrimack, that seems about right. I think, the hourly rate is almost the same, give or take $1 or $2. We don't really have any, we don't provide Jay any benefits, other than our good thoughts. So, I could easily circulate this to see what the rest of the gang thinks of the position. And I'd rather let the rest of our commission review it before I send it to the selectmen, which obviously I'd like to do as soon as possible. Which is why I'm kind of waiting for Jay to write his, retirement, so that I don't want to just send this out without them knowing that he's planning to leave anyway. But yeah, I mean, to me, this is a pretty good draft of the of what what we're looking for. And, yeah. And I think
I just, I don't see if we wait, even doing this right now,
Mhm.
it would be very hard to be hiring someone the first part of July.
Yeah, I don't think that
I
would
just
happen.
don't
Yeah.
understand, yeah.
well, again,
Yeah, I mean, I think we're gonna need to set up some kind of interim, in my opinion, I think we'd need to set up some kind of interim coverage regardless, you know, whether from July 1st till, maybe as much as hopefully no more than a month. But I do think that is a separate thing that we need to move forward with, because I don't see any scenario where there's, someone who's ready to start. I mean, that just the receiving resumes, setting up interviews,
Yeah.
holding interviews, making a decision. And then once you extend an offer, it's typically going to be at least 2 weeks, if not 3, before someone's ready to actually start.
so I've never tried hiring a person through MACC, so I don't know how many possible applicants we're likely to receive. They would probably be best if they lived in the area, because less commuting time and such. The other thing is, I teach classes in wetland delineation. I teach all kinds of classes in wetland stuff. So I would be able, what I'd like to do is if once we boil down to whatever number of candidates there might be, is, let me test their skills, take them out in the woods and see what they know. See if they can identify plants, see if they know soils and stuff like that. I mean, which they should know, if they're trying to work in, and doing any kind of wetland reviews. So, not that I'm still working. I still work for a living mostly.
Well, I think, Bob, wouldn't it depend on their education, if they have the education?
Well, education's wonderful. Don't get me wrong, but
Well,
experience.
let's see what we get for responses. I think that's the big thing.
Because I know when I worked for a consulting firm, I would check them out in the field, and and I would ask them simple stuff, and if they couldn't get even the simple stuff right, it's like, nah, I maybe not want to hire you. I wouldn't say that to their face at that time, but I expect if we get a bunch of resumes and we can narrow it down to how many, and I would imagine myself, maybe another commission member here, and then you guys, we could meet over in West Newbury, or we could meet over here. I think West Newbury's probably might be easier, and have a little team of people interviewing this person, which would probably scare the Jesus out of them. They have 7 people staring at him or her. But once we narrow it down to a number of people, and I would like to see what they know in the field versus just education wise, because experience is really kind of important in things.
Mhm.
And if they can't identify, like you have in the list, invasive plants, if you can't tell the difference between purple loosestrife and an iris, for example, it's kind of like so but again, that's
Well,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
that's okay. No, I mean, we also, in terms of qualifications, in addition to education, we've talked about certification from an accredited association, technical or government program in areas of wetlands permitting, wetlands delineation, experience in the identification and delineation of inland and coastal wetland resources, hydric soils, interpreting maps, FEMA maps. So familiarity with wetlands functions and characteristics. So they should be able to identify purple loosestrife in the field.
Well, let's hope. But frankly, New Hampshire is the only New England state that certifies wetland scientists, and I'm certified in New Hampshire. In Massachusetts, there is no certification, so anybody can go out there and flag a wetland, but then of course they have to go through the process of having it verified by the commission. and things.
Mhm.
So, I mean, there are professional wetland scientists out there, but that's, that to me is just, you send a resume in and you get certified by the Society of Wetland Scientists. So I don't really put a lot of weight into that. But we have but up in New Hampshire, we have a very strong, not that I'm in New Hampshire, I'm in Merrimack.
Oh, I think, isn't that what Jay was certified, New Hampshire?
No, he's not certified in New Hampshire. No.
He took classes from UNH.
Yeah, but, well, you need so many credit hours, then you need to produce you have to submit 5 wetland delineation plans and stuff, which is usually the tough part to get them. And then you do, of course, references to back them up. And but no, I don't. And he's taken a number of my classes, frankly. But yeah, to get certified in New Hampshire isn't that easy. It's kind of a complex process. So but anyway, but it doesn't mean just because you're not certified in New Hampshire that you can't do wetland delineations in Massachusetts, by any means. So, but whoever, like I said, we narrow it down to how many is, and this is one of the things we do in the wetland certification process in New Hampshire is we take them out someplace and they say, okay, tell us where mark the where do you think the wetland boundary is, and we see what they do. Doesn't have to be a big site, it can be small, something small, and then of course there's all the Massachusetts wetland regulations, which are so many pages, 273 maybe, I think.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, no, something like that. And I mean, talk about, if you can't sleep at night, start reading these things, which is but I don't expect the person, because most likely we're looking at the younger folks coming in on this, and they want to break into the field and stuff, and they got to start somewhere, and and I'm more than willing to take if they have a question or they want to go over wetland delineation first. Not that I have a lot of spare time, is I could take them out in the woods, and this is the person that we hired and to help train them a little bit and things, but they really need to know something about soils. They really know something about plants, just to get started and things. And so that's why, yes, the education part would come in there, and kind of go from there. But it's a matter of the resumes. See what the resumes look like. So, yeah, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So
Sounds good.
yeah. So, but yeah, but but it won't fly. I mean, even if they're not correct, because usually we have most of the commission going out and reviewing the sites. If that person would be the first line of defense, so to speak. But then we would be out there reviewing it, and if we found that whatever did the delineation wasn't accurate enough, we'll point it right out.
Oh, we do that,
We do
Bob.
the same. We
Yeah.
do the same.
Yeah. I
We're
mean,
a bunch of loudmouth women over here.
oh dear. Oh my
Go
God.
ahead, Angus, laugh.
But you got Tom too. Don't leave Tom out.
Oh, Tom's quiet.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, he's smart. Yeah.
You guys get my sisters then? So
Oh, all right. So where do we go from here, I guess, is what I'm asking you, Angus. All right.
Well, so I did take the liberty of sending over to Bob earlier today the draft job description, which has now been finalized with a
Okay.
couple of adjustments. So sounds like he's going to shop that around among his colleagues, which is great. And it sounds like it's pretty well on point with what their needs would be. And then I did reach out earlier today to the town council or the town attorney for Merrimack, who happens to be the same attorney we've worked with for labor council issues for the last couple of years. So he's got a basis in both towns.
Okay.
And I think if he could put together a draft intermunicipal agreement, that would frame the key questions of, how's the hiring decision made, what's the pay rate, so on and so forth. So we could work up a draft and then circulate that among both commissions. And just try to do it as quick as we can to get, and I don't know that all of that needs to be hammered out before a job is posted necessarily, because time is of the essence. But I do think we would want some official agreement between the towns, wherever that decision needs to be made before posting. So I'm not sure, Bob, whether in Merrimack, that's something that, Carol, if her okay is sufficient, or if she's got to bring it to her board. I know that the chair of her board did express interest in, kind of being in the loop on this. Obviously, we've got 2 members of our select board on tonight, and I've been keeping them briefed. And while they haven't voted on it, I think I feel very comfortable saying the board of the select board in West Newbury is very supportive of the idea of, jointly posting the position.
Well, frankly, I am, because if Jay leaves, I'm going to get stuck with all the work.
Well, Bob, are you going to talk to him about getting something in writing?
Well, I talked to him again today about it.
And what did he say today?
He's like, well, kind of working on it. And I'm like, Jay, all we need is a letter from you. So, but I can, when we hang up tonight, I can circulate this full-time, the job posting. And by the way, on the very first page of it, I assume I would put in West Newbury / Merrimack, just under responsibilities and duties, just to include, make sure it's both towns. That's the only.
Well, maybe if you, did you tell Jay that the holdup is that we have nothing in writing from him?
Well,
did you voice that?
Well,
Yeah, no.
Well, I did.
Oh, you did. Okay.
Know if if you need something officially in writing, because his retirement date in West Newbury is different from ours. Because did he give you a date? Because I don't remember.
He had retired with us back at the end of fiscal year 19.
That's right.
So he's right now supporting the town as a contractor under a letter agreement. So he had retired from the town about 2 years ago.
That's right. Because
Yep.
And I've actually used him as a contractor for my own stuff, not related to Merrimack, when I needed someone else to do wetlands work with me. But no, I mean, when we hang up, let me see, is this it's a PDF. Can I put in a?
We can send it to you in
You want me
Word,
to
and
send
it
it
sounds
in
like
Word?
Judy's going to make the adjustments that were voted tonight.
I
and-
am.
Yeah. So
I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you, Angus, and you can circulate it to Merrimack, or if you want to send me Bob's email address, I can send it directly to him.
okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
Tell you what it is right now, if you want.
And I did not put Merrimack in the responsibilities and duties because I didn't want to be presumptuous.
Oh, come on. We're an easy going.
So I will add that now if you want, and you can,
West Newbury / Merrimack.
Yeah. sure.
Right there. And okay, if you can do that, Angus, do you want to give him my email, or should I just?
Yeah, Judy, I'll send that out to you. I was looking
Okay.
through. I didn't know if it was in one of the email threads, but I see that it isn't. So I'll just send that out to you after the meeting tonight.
Okay.
And I'll circulate it tomorrow to the gang.
All right. I'll get it back to you tonight.
And then, because to be honest, I'm not even sure they realize Jay's planning to leave at the end of August. So, so what happens? You only meet once a month. Sometimes and I don't necessarily want to, tell people in advance of stuff that I'm not sure what's told in confidence. But I think at this point, it's pretty obvious. So, but anyway, okay. So, all right, so let's do that. So you send me a slightly revised job description. I'll circulate the gang. I'll keep nagging Jay for an official letter. But again, my understanding is he's going to stay in Merrimack till the end of August. And when's your last day in West Newbury? Is it end of June or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what he
That's
said.
what he said.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, we got to get things going. And so, well, maybe you can hire me for a month to review stuff in West Newbury. In case.
Aha.
No, I don't want to do it. It's bad enough.
Bingo.
I don't wanna do it. So,
Okay,
and oh God, you know,
we'll
fighting.
get another letter agreement out.
All right, well, fighting through bittersweet vines and multiflora shredding my arms and legs, this crap is one of the reasons. It's like a field work, even though I've been doing it forever. It just gets to you at some point. Okay, so much for my rambling. But yeah. So Angus, give him my, if you don't mind, pass my email address around.
Yeah, I'll send it to the full commission tonight.
Okay, and then I will circulate the job description to the rest of the gang over on this side of the river. And can I say it that way? This side of the river versus your side of the river, whatever. I'm trying to be, clever. So and see if the members feel confident with this job description. And in terms of salary, by the way, why don't we just maybe hit that real quick?
Yeah.
Pretty similar. Like I said, maybe $1 apart, $1 an hour.
What are you paying him?
I think he's paying him like $28 roughly.
So yeah, I can just summarize this. They're paying two different rates, one for the agent, one for admin. And this is somewhere in your packet, but it's $28.23 for the agent. It's $21.22 for the admin. The agent's budgeted at 40 hours a month, and the admin's budget at 18 hours a month, so 58 hours a month combined. And those are FY22 numbers, by the way. So if you do the math and you apportion it properly with the hours and the rate, the blended rate, the effective rate that they're paying is $26.05. The West Newbury budgeted FY22 rate is $27.32. So it's about $1.27 higher. But since they're only budgeted for 58 hours a month, times $1.27, that's not a whole lot of money. No. And I think that it would be better, I would think, if the person is paid the same rate in both towns. I think as an employee, that would be better for that person. I know from talking to Carol, she would favor, the finance director up there, she would favor paying the employee a single rate in Merrimack rather than two different rates. And I can tell you from payroll, like that, it's a headache, so it would be a lot simpler, I think, for them if they're just paying the person a single rate, and if that person's responsibilities include some administrative responsibilities. But I think that's something that's got to get hammered out. I think, for the purpose of a job posting, you could certainly post a range, a low to high end range. And as long as that encompasses, both communities, that basically buys some time to get to, ideally there's a single rate that both towns would agree. If not, maybe they get paid a little different one or the other, but ideally it would be the same.
Okay, because I just pulled up Jay's time sheet for May, and it was 1481. So let's see. So it was and it was $1,007 for what do you call it? I don't know. And then 18 hours of administrative, 374. Anyway, the total was $1,500. Let's put it that way, just to keep it easy.
I did run earlier today. I ran just to have a round number, what the annualized pay budgeted for FY22 in West Newbury, plus an estimate of the annualized pay in Merrimack based on the numbers Carol had provided. And it comes out to just a few bucks short of 50 grand a year. So, we can look at our comparable, wages and whether we think that's competitive. If we don't think that's competitive, if we think that's low, then,
Yeah.
we're going to have to talk that over with the, financial people in both towns.
You guys give them benefits too, right?
Yes.
It is,
Yeah.
because anything over 20 hours is eligible for benefits in West Newbury.
Yeah, see, we don't give any benefits. So, because we're cheap over here. Yeah. Well, that's again, one of the things we're gonna have to run by the selectmen once we.
All right, but I think, Angus, are you working that out with someone now? Have you started discussing this with him?
Not formally. I mean, yeah, I've talked to Carol a couple of times and I know she's kept,
Informal. Okay.
and we've had some correspondences and conversations. I know she's keeping her, at least the chair of the select board, in the loop. I'm not sure if her full board's talked about it or not.
Yeah.
I did give, with her consent, I gave a heads up to Tim Zesson, the town attorney, because I didn't want to get ahead of where this process was, but based on how tonight's meeting has gone, I think it would not be premature to ask Tim to go ahead and draw up a draft MOU. That would really be the skeleton, for an agreement, the actual details and, not to belabor it, but, how decisions made, what the pay rate is, how that's split between the towns, how the personnel administration, those are the things that need to be fine tuned. But I think that can be worked out pretty quickly at a staff level and then brought to the, whether it's the commissions or whether it's the select boards in both towns. It's going to depend on how the, who has authority for pay rate. So for instance, in West Newbury, that would be the select board. If the pay rate changed, if the pay rate's within what's budgeted, then it's all set. And the select board, wouldn't need to be involved with that aspect. But I do think anytime there's an intermunicipal agreement, it tends to be the chief elected official that's going to formally, vote that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So I guess we just have to get our ducks in a row and get moving.
I like ducks. I did my thesis on ducks.
Which species?
Wood ducks.
Ah.
Down in Oklahoma.
Nice.
Down in Oklahoma.
Huh.
Okay. Is that it? Or
I'm good for now. So,
Well, thank you.
all right, guys.
Motion to adjourn?
Wait, first of all, before you adjourn, let me thank you for nice meeting you all. I know I haven't met any of you before, I don't think. So, okay.
Well,
I'm
nice meeting you too.
done. Okay, Doc, I'm done.
Motion to adjourn.
second?
Second.
Sounds like everybody's voted. Tom?
Are they-
Molly, Dawn, already
Aye.
voted. Aye. Okay.
All right, thanks, everybody.
Thanks for setting it up,
All
Angus.
right.
Thanks for setting
Yeah,
it up,
this
Angus.
was really great. Very, very productive. I really appreciate everyone coming together on short notice. So,
Nicely done.
All right.
Well, thanks for setting it up.
Thank
okay,
you.
thank you.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Night.
Have a
Night.
Good night.
Bye all.